Hello everyone, welcome to Sunya IAS. I welcome you all in this endeavor, this effort of Sunya IAS to make sure that all the NCERT topics are very well done and you are able to understand the proper manner. Now, by now, if you're watching this series, you must be knowing that I'm handling the history section. I'm taking the history lectures, and in the past lecture, we have discussed about the uh, conquest of Bengal by the Britishers. Okay, so we are doing the chapter. If you are referring to the old NCERT, the Bipin Chandra NCERT. Okay, so we are right now doing the chapter number 4. Okay, the chapter number 4, and in chapter number 4 we have done the first topic, that is British conquest of Bengal. Okay, we have already seen the British entry into Carnatic in the while handling in the third lecture itself, the Anglo-French struggle. It covered that section. So those two sections are done. Now our focus is going to be on the British conquest of Mysore. So we'll try to finish off Mysore and as much as part of the Maratha Empire's rise, and in the 18th century what happened with the Maratha Empire. As much as that section will be doable, we'll be finishing off that whole section in today's this lecture. Okay, that's the agenda, that's the plan. Let's, without wasting any more time, let's begin the whole thing, because Bengal, I hope you are already clear with. Okay, there is not much explaining needed to be done further. The causes, consequences, those things, all the scenarios have already been discussed. Okay, so let's directly move to the Mysore. Yeah, Mysore. Okay, so the present day Karnataka. Okay, Mysore is just a city in the southernmost part of my Karnataka. But back in the day, Mysore started from the very place where Mysore is, but it went on to extend its influence and became what was considered to be one of the most important native empires of the 18th century India. Okay, so let me give you a bit of a basic understanding. You can see in the figure, this is the southernmost portion of India, and this was Mysore in 1780. This map shows Mysore in 1780. Okay, so okay, this was the capital. Okay, Saringapatnam was actually the capital. Mysore, Saringapatnam are basically twin cities. Okay, let me first begin where the whole thing starts, and then we'll come to the stakeholders and all those things. So in medieval history, we'll be talking about Vijayanagar Empire. When So in medieval history, we usually talk about Vijayanagar Empire, and over there you will be taught, since you haven't gone through the medieval history yet, so I won't be going too much into detail, but it is one of the very important section of medieval history, that is Vijayanagar Empire. Usually there is always a question in the preliminary examination, but don't worry, we'll be talking about Vijayanagar Empire. Why I'm mentioning it here? Because Vijayanagar Empire ended with a battle, famous battle of Talikota. Okay, Battle of Talikota, which took place in 1565. Okay, 1565. This is medieval history. Okay, I've already explained the differentiation that everything before 1707 was in medieval. Okay, and after, basically after from the 8th century AD till 1707, everything is in medieval history. So this is medieval history. Fine. So Vijayanagar Empire was the dominant empire, dominant Hindu empire in the southern India. It ended with the Battle of Talikota in 1565, and with its demise, there was a void in power, and for almost 35, 40, 42 years, there was no one capable enough to handle the things on their own. But by 1612, in 1612, you will see that a Wadiyar family of Mysore, okay, will rise to prominence. Okay, 1612, Wadiyar family of Mysore will rise into prominence. Okay, so some 37 years after Battle of Talikota, a Wadiyar family from Mysore will rise into prominence, and over the next 50 years till 1661, from 1612 till 1661, they will increase the territory, and Wadiyars who were erstwhile fiduciaries, okay, in a way, old time zamidar of Vijayanagar Empire, now became the important player, and they, in a way, carved out a separate kingdom for themselves. And this was a Hindu family. Okay, this was not a Muslim ruler. This was a Hindu family, Wadiyar family. Fine. Now, this is one section that you need to know about the Wadiyars. Okay, but you know, in Mysore we talk about two people. First was Hyder Ali, or Hyder spells two way, whatever you prefer, you can do it. Hyder Ali and his son Tipu Sultan. He is also spelled two way, but totally different. Tipu Sultan or Tipu Sahib. Okay, the reason for Sahib and Sultan I will tell you. That's not there in your NCERT, but I will tell you. Okay. So we have to focus on these people. But ultimate sovereign of Mysore were always the Wadiyars. Okay, till 1947, this Wadiyar family officially ruled Mysore. So who are these fellows? ये कहाँ से आ गए? Who are these guys? Okay, Hyder Ali, Tipu Sultan. So their story, where it starts, let me tell you. So you might have heard about KGF. Okay, same, Kolar Goldfield. Okay, Kolar Goldfield. So the place where Kolar Goldfield is, right there was a man called, his name was Fateh Khan. Okay, and Fateh Khan served in that time as the local tax collector of KGF area, Kolar region. Okay, his son was Hyder Ali. Now, this you don't have to write. I'm just explaining where these people came from, because if you have this understanding, it becomes very easy in the long run to understand things. Okay, so Fateh Khan's son Hyder Ali came into prominence in 1740s and 1750s. Okay, you knew about Carnatic affair, all that thing, that second Carnatic war, in which there was a succession issue in Carnatic area and the succession issue in Hyderabad. Okay, when duplex was there, I have taught this thing. So when that war was going on, you have to remember that there was an alignment between the French East India Company, French plus Muzaffar Jung. Okay, Muzaffar Jung and Chan Sahib. Okay. These three people were together and they were fighting against the British, Nazir Jung and Anwaruddin. Okay, so this was the faction. Now, one more person who joined this group was no one else than Hyder Ali, none other than Hyder Ali. So Hyder Ali was actually a supporter of Muzaffar Jung, and on a very low level. Okay, he was not a very senior officer or general or something. He served on the lower level only, but he served with the Muzaffar Jung faction in the succession crisis first in Hyderabad, and even helped Chanda Sahib, okay, held in his, like, worked in his military in Karnataka for some time. But when these people lost, he came back to his father's old region of influence, that is Kolar, okay, and started working there. Now Hyder, from his own capabilities, was not only a military genius, but he was very good on accounts also. Just like Murshid Quli Khan, Hyder Ali also had a command on how to handle accounts, and this helped him very well, because very soon it was seen that he was able to strengthen his area very well, okay, and so he got promoted. And over the time, by 1761, and that's why I mentioned that year, 1661, but you will see by 1761, okay, by 1761, Hyder Ali was promoted to a position called as Dehelvi. Dehelvi. Okay. Okay. Hyder Ali. He later on in 1776 became Sarvadhikari, but Dalwai. Okay. So first he became in 1761 he became the army commander of Mysore, and then in 1766 he became the prime minister of Mysore, which in Mysore was called as Sarva Adhikari. Sarva Adhikari. Adhikari means officer. Sarva means the topmost or most prominent or supreme officer. Okay. So this is the story of rise of Hyder Ali. And so just like you might have heard about this, if not, totally fine, we will be talking about Marathas. So just like among the Marathas, Chhatrapati was obviously the king, but power for a very long period lasted in hands of the Peshwas, who were the prime minister. Similarly, in Mysore, although Wodeyar were the kings, Wodeyar was the king, but the actual power resided with the prime minister, that was the Sarvadhikari, and that was Hyder Ali in 1760. Okay, so we have reached till 1766, what was happening, Hyder Ali and all. Now let's see what is happening in 1760s Mysore and nearby area. So you see this stakeholder graph. Who are the people involved here? So Mughals are always there because effectively they are Mughals, okay, but in 1760s, okay, 1760s, no one was actually taking command from the Mughals, okay, no one was giving them much of importance. So you need to know this thing, okay. In 1760, already after 1765, no one was giving Mughals much of importance. So officially they were stakeholders, but not in reality on ground. Marathas were again trying to get into prominence. Hyderabad, okay, because Nizam-ul-Mulk was no more alive, but Saljad Jung was now the in charge of Hyderabad. Then Hyder's son Tipu was supporting him. Wodeyar dynasty was also a stakeholder because effectively they were the or not effectively though, but de jure they were the ruling elite. East India Company was a player here. French East India Company was also a player here. How? I will explain. Now let's see some of the positioning of the places also, because this is also very important to understand what happened in Mysore. So you can see the map. You see the capital city, the Saringapatnam is the capital city. This is Mysore's capital. This is Port Louis, which is French East India, not English, French, okay. Port Louis is French East India Company's headquarters in Pondicherry, and Madras is English East India Company's headquarters on the Coromandel coast, okay. Here is Arcot, okay, where Nawab of Arcot, Muhammad Ali Walaja, used to reside, okay. And this Muhammad Ali Walaja is the same guy whom Clive saved in 1751 to siege of Arcot, okay. Marathas used to be there on the top. Here Nizam was there, that Hyderabad, okay. So this was the whole scenario on the ground. Now let me move and tell you where should I start. Okay, so before going into anything else, okay, you have to know certain things about Hyder Ali. I have already mentioned that Hyder Ali was an excellent administrator. Okay, so you will see here he was we are going to talk about his administrative skills. Okay, because he evolved a very good administration, okay, for Mysore. So he worked on two fronts, on the military front and on the revenue collection front. Already I have mentioned that he was not only a military genius, but he was also very good, had a very good hold on accounts. So revenue collection department and military department. What exactly he did on the military side? He developed the Risala system, and he is also known for developing the Mysorean rockets. Now these Mysorean rockets are not only used against the Britishers in 1780s once, we will be talking about it, but they were so advanced in comparison to European technologies that Britishers, after getting these Mysorean rocket in their hand, took it to Britain, and later on the Britishers developed their rocketry system based on the Mysorean rockets. Okay, so that is one thing. We'll come to the Risala system. That is his Risala system is basically a simple system. Let me explain here itself. It's exactly opposite to the Mansabdari system. What is Mansabdari system? Mansabdari system, the army general is given the responsibility of collecting the tax also, and he has to keep a part of the tax to himself for the upkeep of the forces which are allotted to him. That is what Mansabdari system is. I have already explained that. In Risala system, they said no, military has to be kept separate. So the current day military system, what it is, the military has to be, there has to be always standing permanent military whose salary and everything will be maintained by the state, by the government. Okay, and they don't have to get into the distress of, or don't have to work for making sure that they have the source of revenue. Okay, military don't have to worry for those things. Risala system is this. Okay, Risala system, Risala is basically a word which is equivalent to a regiment. Okay, so in a regiment system, there was one Risaladar. His responsibility was to handle his regiment. Okay, that's it. To make them battle ready and always prepared for war, a permanent standing army. That's what Hyder Ali prepared through Risala system. The source of revenue for their salaries, for their upkeep, was the job of the accounts department. That was a separate department. Okay, these military men didn't had any responsibility regarding taxation or anything. So this is Risala system. This did two things. First of all, it provided more time for preparation. Okay, and secondly, it's reduced the source and avenues of corruption. Okay, corruption कब होता है? जब आपको opportunity मिलेगी तब corruption करोगे. Okay, mansabdari system में there was opportunity to get corrupt. Okay, in Risala system there is no opportunity. You are told, okay, तुमको पैसे मिल जाएंगे, जाओ exercise करो, जब लड़ाई करनी होगी हम बुला लेंगे तुमको. इसमें तुम क्या corruption कर लोगे? Only corruption you can do is कि आज 10 push-up करने थे, हमने 8 ही किए. Nothing beyond that. Okay, so this is Risala system. So he came up with this basic system to make sure. And Mysorean rocket is a scientific advancement which took place during his time. It's not like he was a scientist. Thomas Alva Edison or nahi bana tha wo aadmi. He was someone who was promoting the advancement of the technology. Beyond this, the revenue collection system, what he did, again, he appointed a salaried employed for collection of revenue. Because when you tell people, when you basically hire people on contractual basis, कि जाओ पैसा collect करके ले आओ, certain part will be given to you, then only corruption booms. Okay, when you tell them that you will be getting a fixed salary, then again, with a sense of security, the chances of transparency is more. Okay, maintaining transparency is more. Okay, for making sure the revenue assessment is correct, a proper new measurement of land was done, and soil quality check periodically was also done. Okay, depending on the quality of the soil, the particular area was defined to be in certain bracket for revenue collection. Okay. On the economic reform thing, okay, first of all, this is irrigation. So he evolved a huge system of irrigation channels throughout his territory. And secondly, he started exporting black pepper and silk. Now, over here in the economic reform, one thing I need to explain to you. Look, this is your Europe, this is your North America, this is your South America, this is your Africa, okay, this is your Asia, okay, and this was your Australia, which was yet to be found. Australia means came into prominence after 1786, okay, but this is a basic idea, okay. Now, how it was happening? The Europeans were having factories in Africa, west coast, factories in Africa, east coast, factories on the southern tip, factory on the South America coast, eastern coast, factory on the South America, North America, eastern coast, okay, factory on Asia, basically this particular region was India, so over here, everywhere, okay, here, okay, these were the European factories, okay, and European countries were handling all the trade, okay, they were opening their factories in India, okay, and since the factories were owned by them and navigational system was owned by them because their ships were coming, they were the one who were deciding the terms of the trade. Hyder Ali was the first native ruler who decided that why can't we open our factories in Europe instead of letting the Europeans come to our country and purchase products, finished article or raw material, whatever they need from our people on our coast in their factory. Why can't we can take whatever product they need? We will have a factory over there and we will tell them that come over there itself and buy it from us. In that scenario, we will be taking our product to their market instead of their merchants coming to our market. Okay, whoever take the stuff to the market actually makes all the money. Okay, so that was his idea of economic advancement. He even tried to do it with certain, he started also doing it with Iran up to certain extent. He also started trading with France on an extensive level. Okay, extensive level. We will talk about it in more detail. But this is one of his most important initiative which Hyder Ali himself took. Okay, not even Tipu. Hyder Ali only took it. Okay, this stuff. So keep this thing in mind. Fine. Economic reform wise, export of black pepper and silk and irrigation system. Now, after this, more main focus is going to be on the Anglo-Mysore War, and there were 4. And just like in the Carnatic War, the 3 Carnatic War, there are 4 Anglo-Mysore wars. And since there are 4 Anglo-Mysore war, one happened in 1769, the other happened in 1780-84, the third happened in 1790-92, the fourth happened in 1798-1799. And since there are 4 wars, it becomes difficult also sometimes to remember them. It becomes difficult even to remember exactly what happened at what stage of time. So it is very important that you listen to this whole class in a single go and keep these things in sync. Okay, so do that much. Now, for certain students it will be difficult, they nahi hota yaad story. I totally understand, it happens. So for those students it is also required ki you at least just remember the wars and what were the main characters or main things which happened in the war and how the war ended. Okay, उससे काम हो जाएगा. Okay, no one is too bothered about that in the long run your whole answer has to be on Mysore. That is not required. That is not going to happen in mains examination. Okay, nit and nut bolt थोड़ा बहुत पता होगा, nit bits and pieces काम हो जाएगा. Okay, so first Anglo-Mysore War 1767 to 1769, it ended with the Treaty of Madras in 1769. Okay, second Anglo-Mysore War It happened between 1780 and 1784, and it ended with uh, Treaty of Mangalore, 1784. One important battle is Battle of Pollilur. Why Battle of Pollilur is important or famous? But Battle of Pollilur is famous because Mysorean rockets were used here for first time in human history. Okay. Third Anglo-Mysore War happened between 1790 and 92, and the treaty which ended it was Treaty of Saringapatnam. 1792 it happened, and it ended the treaty. Okay. It forced Tipu Sultan to give away half of his property. Fourth Anglo-Mysore War happened between 1767 and 1769, and it ended with Battle of Saringapatnam. There was no treaty because Tipu Sultan was killed while fighting the Britishers, and Britishers then signed a subsidiary alliance, or Wodiyas then signed a subsidiary alliance with the Britishers. Okay, and in a way, Britishers got involved into the administration of Mysore. Okay, so khatam nahi hua. For those students who, in the worst of the worst case, if you can't remember anything else, at least this much information is minimum needed. So make a note of this. I'm just getting out of the screen. Pause your screen, make a note of this. Okay, and then we will move forward. Okay, got it? So do this much, and let's move and let's see one by one each of the whole story. So we'll start with the first Anglo-Mysore War, 1767 to 1769. Let me just tell you what exactly happened. The first Anglo-Mysore War. Okay, so fine. Oh, this is just too bad a map. This is a bit better, not perfect, but okay, fine. Now, understand, I'm not putting it in perfectly, but this is just to make you understand a bit in pieces. So understand that this region, or I'll use different colors, okay? This region is Maratha. Okay? This region is Hyderabad. Okay? Then, oh, I think it's here. Okay, it's here, it's here. We don't need to do this. Okay, fine. Since it's here, we don't have to do it again. Chalo. So, and characters are also placed. Chalo, fine. Purani slide kaam aa gayi. I have made this slide once upon a time, and now it is useful. Otherwise, I have to draw the whole thing. So you can see this thing. I was just making this map only. You can see the Peshwa territory is here. This is Nizam's territory. Okay, this is your Mysore, the dotted area. This is Carnatic Sultanate. Okay, this area, the pinkish area, is basically Madras. Okay, and right here is Arcot. Arcot is basically here. Arcot is not on the coast. Okay, yep. Now understand what happened. So in 1764, Mughals lost. In 1765, Treaty of Allahabad was done. So 1766, these things are happening one after other. 1764, Mughal lost. 1765, Treaty of Allahabad was done. The biggest implication of Treaty of Allahabad was that the Mughal authority over Indian subcontinent was lost, because the Mughal sovereign, Mughal Badshah himself, is now a pensioner of a company. Yeah, authority, right? Now, that happened in 1765. The very next year, 1766, Hyder Ali became the Sarvadhikari. Hyder Ali became the Sarvadhikari, that is the Prime Minister. Now, in 1761, already Marathas had lost to Ahmad Shah Abdali. Okay, so Marathas were in a very difficult situation, because after the loss, the Maratha Peshwa had a heart attack. He died also. So a new Peshwa was there. He was also finding things difficult. Okay, you can see that the Maratha region was also in a way reduced in size for some bits. So Hyder Ali came in power in 1766, and whenever someone comes to power, what one needs to do? One needs to assert his power. जब भी आप कहीं नहीं जाते हो तो आपको अपनी पावर assert करनी पड़ती, show people. Okay, whenever a new movie is getting released, it is expected that हीरो को अच्छा काम करना पड़ेगा और ज़्यादा अच्छा काम. सो काम से काम नहीं चलता. फिल्म फ्लॉप नहीं, अगर फ्लॉप नॉर्मल भी गई तो नए हीरो फ्लॉप हो जाएगा. ओके, so you have to show a magnum opus. Okay, you have to have a big entry. So what he did is he planned that let's attack Marathas. Here, let's attack Marathas. Okay, so he attacked Marathas. But Marathas, although were not as capable as they used to be till 1760, but इतने भी खराब नहीं थे. They were not so bad that they will lose in their own territory. So not only Marathas tackled Mysore, but they actually pushed Mysore deep inside, and they forced Mysore to pay 35 lakh rupees for this misadventure. So where Hyder Ali had a plan that this is an opportunity, we will take away some of the territory of Marathas, but now he had to pay from his own pocket. Okay, so he was upset. Now at this point he was looking for a alternative route. He was looking for alternative route to, first of all, get back the money, the 35 lakh rupees which he was forced to pay to Marathas. Plus he was also looking, because there was a cost in fighting Marathas, तो वो भी निकालना है, that was also need. He was looking for some way out that he can do something to earn the money back. So he planned that this time let's attack Arcot. And in this map, Arcot is placed at wrong place. Arcot is actually somewhere here. Okay, so don't use this thing. Okay, Arcot is somewhere here. So he planned, let's attack Arcot. Okay, he planned to attack Arcot, but he knew that if I'll attack Arcot, okay, I have to leave my capital Seringapatam. If I'll leave my capital Seringapatam, there is a very high chance that the Marathas and even the Nizam will take the opportunity, use the opportunity, and will attack us. So what he did, he planned that let's reach a settlement. We'll talk to the Nizam and we'll talk to the Marathas. We'll tell the Nizam that we'll pay you some bounty from whatever we will earn from Arcot, and we will all. He also said to the Peshwa that we'll also pay you some part of whatever riches we will loot from Arcot. We will share it with you. So Peshwa was also like, fine, कर लो. Okay, हमें तो पैसे मिल रहे हैं ऐसे ही free के, कर लो. So this was great plan. अच्छा plan है, चलो. So the plan was that, now let me explain again what the plan. The plan was Hyder Ali, Dalwai and Sarvadhikari, because at this time he was head of army as well as the prime minister. Okay, will attack Muhammad Ali Walaja, and whatever money he will get from there, he will share it with Hyderabad, Nizam Ali Khan as well as Peshwa. Okay, so he went to Arcot. I'm using this only. Okay, so he went to Arcot. He seized the Arcot fort, the fort of Arcot. Okay, he took his army and he went out, sat outside the Arcot fort for 8 months. The door of the fort never opened, because when he was talking to Nizam Ali Khan, the Britishers were there in Hyderabad, and Britishers got to know about this whole plan, and Britishers were good friends of Muhammad Ali Walaja, so they informed him, and so he was prepared. So after sitting outside Muhammad Ali Walaja's fort for 8 months, when the fort never opened, okay, and there was a very high chance that might be a mutiny in Hyder Ali's own forces, Hyder Ali thought that it's time to go back. But then he also knew that if he'll go back without money, Peshwa and Hyderabad will attack him. So what he did, he immediately turned his forces from Arcot and went to Madras. Madras where Fort St. George, English East India Company. He went to the Fort St. George, and this time, just like he sat outside and seized the fort of Arcot. This time he seized the fort of Britishers, Fort St. George. And although Britishers were the one who informed Nawab of Arcot that Mysore army is coming for you, but they were sure that Mysore army is not going to come for them. So when the Mysore army landed up in front of the fort, they were unprepared. Okay, they were unprepared. And then at this moment, Hyder Ali told them that, look, two things can be done. Either you pay us, this third again. Hyder Ali told English East India Company that either you pay us, okay, whatever amount we are asking, or we are going to ransack your factory, ransack your fort, and take all the money. Britishers, being good, shrewd, diplomatic people, which they were, East India Company officials, they reached an understanding. And this understanding was later on known as Treaty of Madras. Treaty of Madras. Okay. So what was the understanding? Britishers told him that, look, we have this sum money to take this, not as much money as you are asking us for, but we will give you some money so that whatever cost you have, it has taken you to come to here and attack Arcot and all that we will repay. For the amount which you have assured Peshwa and Hyderabad we will take care. Hyderabad is a friend of ours, so we will make sure that Hyderabad will not retaliate against you, Mysore, even if you don't pay them. Fine. They assured further that if Peshwa attacks you, because you will not be paying him, you don't have money, you won't be paying. So if Peshwa attacks you, we will come to help you out. Okay. So with this assurance that if Peshwa attacks us, Mysore, Britishers will come to support Mysore against Peshwa. Okay, in 1769, Hyder Ali went back to Saringapatnam. This is the start and end of the first Anglo-Mysore. Okay, Hyder Ali lost to Marathas and planned to attack Arcot. Arcot under Muhammad Ali Walaja, supported by British. Hyder Ali siege Arcot failed. Hyder Ali turned his army towards Madras and forced Fort St. George to surrender. Treaty of Madras was signed. Again, I explained you the terms of Treaty of Madras. Okay, so that is all what is there in first Anglo-Mysore. Okay, sure. Let's move forward. Totally got it? You want to note this thing now? Please note it down if you want. Just take a minute, note it down. Okay, done everyone? Pause your screen and note it down. Let's move to the second Anglo-Mysore. Now what happened in 1780 to 84? Now the problem didn't start in 1780 to 84. We'll come to it. But the moment Hyder Ali came back in 1769, in 1771, Marathas attacked Mysore, and Britishers were nowhere to help them. Britishers never came to help. Although, who came to help Mysore at this time? The French East India Company, or the French East India Company traders, okay, provided arsenal, okay, plus they trained the Mysorean army. plus training, okay, to the Mysorean army. So because of this help of French East India Company officials and French government officials, okay, and keep in mind Hyder Ali already has a good relations with French, because he had already served with Dupleix back in the time. क्या हो गया? What if even if they lost back then? But the relationship was there, so he already knew the French officials very well. Okay, from 1750s only. Okay, so at this time he was so impressed with the French East India Company that he allotted them Mahe, a port on the west coast of India, to trade from. Okay. If you'll see on this map, you will see here written Mahe right here. Visible? Yeah. So he allotted port of Mahe to French East India Company to trade from. Now, this allotment of Mahe port to French East India Company to trade was something which Britishers didn't like, because Britishers said to the French East India Company that, look, we, English East India Company and French East India Company, have an understanding as per Treaty of Paris 1763. When the Carnatic War ended 1763, there was an agreement that French East India Company will not get involved in the political affairs of the native rulers in India. They will keep themselves just for the trading purposes and will not try to increase their territorial possessions in India. And French has accepted those terms. But now over here, they were also starting their new business, new trade port. So they are not following the agreement they had done it. So Britishers said that this is wrong. So what they did? Britishers took their ships from Madras and attacked Mahe fort. The armada, French Navy's armada in front of Mahe port. They attacked and bombarded it. And they said that French East India Company will not be allowed to trade from here. Now, Hyder Ali had a different perspective. Hyder Ali said that, look, whatever agreement you people had in 1763, I am not a party to it. I am a sovereign here in Mysore. Mysore is a separate kingdom. With whom Mysore wants to trade, under what circumstances, what pretext, and what agreement, what understanding it wants to trade, it's for Mysore to. Mysore wants to give a particular port to a country or a company, it can. If Mysore wants to not trade with that company or country, that also it can. Who is Britain to decide that with whom Mysore can trade? Because Mysore was a sovereign kingdom. So Britain cannot decide the fate or the relationship of Mysore with a separate sovereign country, because Mysore and that country are sovereign. Okay. So he said that Mahe will be given to France. And that was the condition of the Second Anglo-Mysore War. Okay. So the British broke the terms of Treaty of Madras. Hyder Ali allowed France to trade through the port of Mahe. These were the prevailing conditions. Okay. When these things were happening in 1780, the triggering cause was when the British seized port of Mahe from the French. And when this happened, then Hyder Ali said that this is infringement of our sovereignty. So a war was there, out there. Arcad was supporting Britishers in this war. Hyder Ali retaliated, war started. Okay. This war, there are very many battles which were fought. Battle of Pollilur is the one most famous battle in 1780. Okay, where you need to know that the Britishers lost that particular battle because of the use of the Mysorean rockets. Okay, for those who don't know Pollilur is right next to where Kanchipuram is. Okay, the Kanjivaram sari you might have heard of, that is from there in Tamil Nadu present day. So for next 2 years, 1780 to 82, the battle after battle used to happen. Sometime the Hyder Ali used to win the battles, sometime the East India Company used to win the battles. Okay. 1782, between the battle itself, Hyder Ali died. It was not like someone killed him. He died because of his own ailments. Okay. So he died in 1782, and when he died, his son Tipu was appointed the new Sarvadhikari. Okay, and he took charge. He became in charge instead of his father. Okay. In the second Anglo-Mysore War only, the famous British Army General Sir Eyre Coote, okay, was also killed. And Sir Eyre Coote is very important because in upcoming lectures I will be telling you about a person, Lord Cornwallis, Lord Charles Cornwallis, who played a very important role in framing of Indian administrative system. Okay, the whole civil service structure is in a way established by Lord Cornwallis in 1793. Okay, through Cornwallis Code. So Lord Cornwallis came to India only because Sir Eyre Coote was dead. If Eyre Coote was alive, would have been alive, Lord Cornwallis would have never been called, and Sir Eyre Coote would have ended up becoming the Viceroy or Governor General of India. Back then there was no position of Viceroy. Okay, but that is the discussion for later on. But just remember that the very senior officer Sir Eyre Coote also got killed in this war. Okay, so that battle thing went on. Sometime Mysore won, sometime British East India Company won. Okay, this thing went on for till 1784, and in 1784 something very interesting happened, and let me tell you that also. Look, while all this thing was going on in India, back in Paris there was another Treaty of Paris in 1783. Okay, Treaty of Paris again. This whole story, the second Anglo-Mysore War starts because of Treaty of Paris and ends because of Treaty of Paris. Although nowhere in the both the Treaty of Paris, nowhere Mysore is mentioned directly. So the second Anglo-Mysore War starts because of an argument of Treaty of Paris of 1763 that the French should not be allowed to trade from Indian subcontinent, and they were allowed. That was the main reason. I just explained you. That was as per Treaty of Paris 1763. In Treaty of Paris 1783, okay, Americans were given independence. Okay, American independence was sanctioned. American independence was sanctioned. तो अगर भाई इंडिया पाकिस्तान की लड़ाई होती है 1971 में, and Bangladesh becomes a new country, what the first thing happens? The government in Pakistan falls. If you lose a war, the first thing which happens is the government falls in a country. So the immediate aftermath of the Treaty of Paris, where the Americans got their independence, was fall of government in Britain. Fall of government in Britain. Now, this fall of government means a new prime minister. So, William Pitt, younger, who was 24-year-old at the time, became the new prime minister of Britain. And William Pitt in the Parliament said, in the British Parliament said that, look, we have gone into many misadventures in America, and that only led to our loss in America. We have to make sure that we don't get involved into very many native issues in other of our colonies. And therefore, what we have to do, we have to make sure that we don't repeat the same misadventures in India what we have done in America. So here he said that from immediate effect, all the wars being fought by British East India Company in Indian subcontinent should be, or in all the colonies of Britain, should be stopped. So this battle or war which was going on between Mysore and uh, British East India Company was also stopped. So a ceasefire was found, and officially through a Treaty of Mangalore, through the Treaty of Mangalore, okay, Treaty of Mangalore was signed, and it was decided that whatever territories have been taken over by both the side of each other, okay, since the start of the war, should be returned. So both the parties, Mysore state as well as British East India Company, retracked to their position to 1780s position, where they were before the start of Second Anglo-Mysore War, and the war ended with the Treaty of Mangalore. And this is the term of Treaty of Mangalore, that both the sides will go to the pre-war territorial position. That's it. Okay, this is your Second Anglo-Mysore. Your standard books, even your NCERT, don't tells you that why the Second Anglo-Mysore War ended, and that's the only understanding I have given you extra. Otherwise, everything else is there in NCERT. Okay. Now let's move to the Third Anglo-Mysore War. Okay, fine. What now happened? So by you can see now that the territory has reduced in this time. Okay, and this is the territory which is after Second Anglo-Mysore War or Third Anglo-Mysore War. Okay, so what has happened? How this territory was reduced from Mahe, this region, this region, this region. This was the outcome of Third Anglo-Mysore War. So what happened in the Third Anglo-Mysore War? So in 1784 already, and there was also another act, India Act of 1784, which is also called a Pitt's India Act. We will be talking about it. It also has a role. But the Britishers had already announced, the British Prime Minister had announced that the Britishers are not going to fight the natives and not going to get involved in the affairs of the natives. Then why this battle again? Why this war again? So let's see. So in 1790, you will see that Mysore attacked Travancore in 1789. Okay, and Travancore asked for British help. Now you might ask that why Mysore attacked Travancore. So let me explain you that also. Okay, so in the map, okay, if this region is Cochin, okay, then this is Travancore, okay, and this region on the top of that will be Mysore, suppose. Okay, now what happened is the erstwhile historical zamindars in Mysore was polygars, Polighyar, polygars. Okay. Now these polygars were historical zamindars, and Hyder Ali had removed these historical polygars from office. I have already told you that he developed this new revenue collection system, in which he appointed officials. Okay, so these historical zamindars who were called as polygars were removed from office. Now when they were removed from office, obviously they will retaliate, so they rebelled. So there was always some kind of militancy going on in the state, in the southern region, and by 1790s this militancy increased, and it is said that Tipu sent his forces against these polygars. Now these polygars first went into from Mysore, the southern part of Mysore, to Cochin. Okay, and then from Cochin, when Tipu sent his force to Cochin, then they went to Travancore. And both Cochin and Travancore told Cochin initially hesitated, but later under pressure from Tipu handed over few of the polygars. But Travancore said that under no circumstance they are going to hand over these people to Tipu. Now in the few years back, again you might have heard about that there have been very many news that Tipu Sultan is infamous for killing a lot of people. Those killings are basically these people only. So don't think that any of the ruler is going to kill anyone on the religious line. No, rulers always and only kill people for the economic reason, never for the religious line. Okay, it might seem you like a religious issue, but it always ends up in the economic issue. So they were being killed because they were fighting for their economic rights, and he was killing them because, as per him, they were a part of a old uh, corrupt economic system. Okay, so it was more of an economic fight. It was not a religious fight. Okay, so you get the basic understanding of this map, this area, what happened. So when Travancore said that they are not going to return or allow these polygons or hand over polygons to Mysore, Mysore finally in the Tipu decided to attack Travancore, and at this time Travancore asked for help from the then British Governor General Lord Charles Cornwallis. Okay, now अब एक दो चीजें और यहाँ समझ लीजिए. Lord Charles Cornwallis has a very interesting past. In 1783, okay, the last British officer who surrendered in front of George Washington in America. George Washington is the father of nation of America, for those who don't know. Okay, so in 1783, the last officer who surrendered in front of George Washington was Charles Cornwallis. Okay, and from there he surrendered in front of Americans and returned and took retirement, and then he was called to India, okay, as a private person by East India Company and given the job of Governor General. Okay, now अब ये भी समझ लो थोड़ा सा. Now Cornwallis, this portion is done. Now Hyder Ali, when he was aligned with the French between 1776 and 1783, okay, there was a American Revolution going on. In 1776 and 1783, there was an American Revolution going on. Okay, for those who don't know, between 1770, this will be covered in world history, but between 1776 and 1783 there was an American Revolution. Uske baad the outcome was the Treaty of Paris, after which the Americans got their independence finally. Now you see, the second Anglo-Mysore war happened also around this time. So the 4 years combined here. So during this war period, Hyder Ali actually collaborated with the Americans. Okay, he actually collaborated with the Americans, and it is said that many a time in the American newspapers, whenever Hyder Ali used to win at some place in the second Anglo-Mysore war, okay, the American newspapers used to publish in their reports that our ally Hyder Ali has got a victory in the another hemisphere against our common enemy. Okay, and this was happening when Charles Cornwallis was there in America. So this was the only opportunity Charles Cornwallis going to get, okay, to actually fight at least the ally of that particular country to whom he finally surrendered. Okay, so some people say that was also a reason, but ultimately Charles Cornwallis, going against the diktat given by the government of Britain, okay, decided to help Travancore. And in supporting Travancore only, British East India Company now in 1789 declared war on Mysore, and so started the Third Anglo-Mysore War. Okay, Third Anglo-Mysore. So Cornwallis supported the Travancore state. British East India Company plus Maratha plus Hyderabad plus Travancore came together against Mysore. Mysore faced imminent defeat, and so Treaty of Seringapatam was signed. And in this treaty, Tipu was forced to leave 50% of his territory. 50% of his territory was taken over. Okay, all the Mahi and nearby region was also taken over. All his border with Goa, that is Portuguese territory, was also taken over. Okay, all these areas were taken over. Plus, he was also made to pay 3 crore rupees. He was made to pay 3 crore rupees, and was also made to make two of his son. Okay, he was forced to surrender two of his son to British East India Company. Okay, he was also made to surrender two of his son to British East India Company. Okay, they were taken as a guarantee, because it was expected that as long as Tipu's son are with British East India Company, Tipu will not try to do anything, okay, against the company in the future. This is what they expected. Okay, so this happened in the third Anglo-Mysore War. The treaty was Treaty of Seringamapatnam. Okay, cool, got it, everyone? I hope this must have given you some idea what I'm telling you. Okay, let's move forward then. And okay, before moving any forward, let me before coming to fourth Anglo-Mysore War, there are 2 or 3 more basic doctrines which are needed to be discussed. So let me discuss these 2-3 doctrines first of all, British doctrines, and then we will be able to discuss other things in detail. So first of all, policy of ring fence. So this is a map. This is अखंड भारत का map नहीं है. Okay, don't think like sir अखंड भारत का map है. Okay, है तो वही वाला. Fine. This side of border was not this much very clear actually in those times. So the thing is that what is this policy of ring fence? Okay, so first of all, the British center was here, Calcutta, here Madras, and here Bombay. Okay, these are British centers. Okay, now for example, I will tell you this. They after in those times, in 1790s, it was expected. In 1790s, it was a real viability that the French forces might attack. Okay, the French forces might attack and they will come to India. Right now, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel acceptable. But back then, it was a real possibility that France under Napoleon Bonaparte will attack India. Okay, so how it all started? After French Revolution started, French Revolution happened in basically it was a due process between 1789 and 1799. So after 1789, when French Revolution started, all the European countries declared war against France. When France killed its own king, the French people killed their own king. It was decided that after the murder of Louis XVI, it was decided that all the European countries will declare war on France. Basically, not for killing the king, basically for declaring their country republic. Okay. So that war went on 1793, 1794. 1796, 1797, these were the year when a character Napoleon Bonaparte came into prominence. And इसको story की तरह सुन लो, world history में थोड़ा सा समझाऊंगा ज़्यादा better. Okay, Napoleon Bonaparte came into prominence in 1797. He was in the Mediterranean Sea. It was expected that he getting to win in Egypt. Very soon he will go to Syria, Damascus. And once he is there in Syria, what we call now Baghdad and Iraq, those present day country, once he will be there, he will be directly coming from Iran, Afghanistan to India. Or he could also take the channel of Red Sea. And since Mysore is here, okay, so it was also possible that he will take a channel from Red Sea and directly come to Mysore and take the help of Tipu Sultan and then attack the Britishers. Okay, that was also a possibility. So these all possibilities were possible. So at that time, the Governor General of India, Lord Wellesley, he was there in not India, Governor General of Fort Williams. Back then, the Governor General of India term was not used. Okay, these specifications that when you have to use the Governor General of Bengal, when you have to use Governor of Bengal, when you have to use Governor General of British India, when you have to use Viceroy, what is the difference between Viceroy and Governor General? All these things will be done in chapter number 6. few more, chapter number 8. Okay, so don't worry. Okay, but in a general sense, you can call him Governor General. Okay, so Governor General used to sit. Lord Wellesley, Richard Wellesley, was sitting here in Calcutta. This was Bengal, which was in control of Britishers. Okay, now he knew, and over here was Awadh. Okay, this area was Awadh. Now he knew very well that if the forces are going to come from the Khyber Pass, that is Afghanistan, it is going to come from this path. Okay? This is the path they are going to take, and if they are going to take this path, then they have to cross this whole region, and if they are going to cross this whole region and come to Bengal, why should we waste our army in the territory of Bengal? Because if the British East India Company army is stationed here, and if the French supported army comes and fight there, the battle will take place in Bengal. Battle will take place in Bengal. Even if Britishers win, then also there will be so much loss because of the battle that the trade will be disrupted. That is the key, that is the foundation. That should not happen in any scenario. So the other way was that start using your neighboring territories as a buffer state. And this logic, once developed, they will be using it again and again and again and again till 1947. And they, in a way, they are even using it now. If you try to understand the whole NATO thing and Ukraine thing and all that, that the whole thing is basically ring fence only. All that is will be explained, can be explained by the policy of ring fence. So at this point, but let's come back to this. What Wellesley did, he went to the Nawab of Awadh in Lucknow and told him that look, there is an imminent threat from whom? From Napoleon. So let's put East India Company armed forces on the border of Agra and Awadh here. Okay, right here. So the army will be East India Companies. So if the forces will be coming over there, okay, he told Nawab of Awadh that you will be saved. Nawab of Awadh was happy. Yes, I will be saved. Thank you for the army. Now, his own intention was that if the army is here, fighting will also take place here. So in that circumstances, trade in Bengal will not be affected. That was the main intention. Okay, all the doing, misdoing, stability, instability will happen in the buffer state. Okay, our core state will not be affected. Okay, Awadh will become a buffer state. Now, secondary, since the British East India Company's armies are posted here, now he can charge the Nawab of Awadh for the upkeep of these forces. Okay, now he can charge Nawab of Awadh for the upkeep of these forces. खाने पीने के पैसे ले सकते हैं. Okay. So at free cost, now he is providing security to Bengal. Okay. To the region which is in direct control of East India Company is going to be saved free of cost, because cost is going to be paid by Nawab of Awadh even if Napoleon attacks. Although Napoleon never attacked, there was a different situation. Napoleon lost a battle, ship battle, and returned in 1799 to France, and then became the first counselor and then the emperor of France. That's a different story, but for a different day. But what happened is, in 1801, he sent a bill to Nawab of Awadh, and the bill amount was so big that he was not able to pay, and so Britishers forced him to cede the region of Gorakhpur to British East India Company. Okay, so this is basically the core idea or core thing of doctrine of ring fence. Okay, this is just one incident, but they started using it again and again and again everywhere. For example, in the 19th century, when there was a crisis, there was an expectation that Tsar is basically the king of Russia, used to be called as Tsar. So Tsarist Russia might attack from Khyber Pass and try to come and enter Indian subcontinent. So at that time they used Afghanistan as a buffer region. So that was also a ring fence only. Okay, so this is the basic concept of ring fence, that you prepare a particular buffer region as a ring fence around your core region and make sure that the core region there is no instability, stability, and whatever happens on the other side. Okay, so for official thing, for theoretical understanding, it was a doctrine enacted by Warren Hastings first and then used by Wellesley. Warren Hastings was the first Governor General appointed in 1773. Okay, which involved defending their neighbors' frontier in order to safeguard their own frontiers. This was reflected in the East India Company war against the Marathas and the Mysore Kingdom. Okay, so this is your first of all policy of ring fence. Okay, now once you understand the policy of ring fence, let's come to policy of subsidiary alliance. Okay, now what is subsidiary alliance? It's basically a tributary alliance. Now once you are part of this ring fence, you already have British East India Company army military stationed in your zone, and you are already paying for the upkeep of this military. Now the next step they will do is they will appoint a regent, in a way a British ambassador in your court, and they will say that this person will help you in maintaining relations with us. But over the period of time, this person became the effective ruler of the state and the real ruler was retired. Okay, so how this was done? So it's a tributary alliance between the Indian states and the European East India Company, first devised by Joseph Dupleix, because it was done in 1740s by French, but the whole subsidiary alliance was not their own device. It was first devised by Joseph Francois Dupleix when he was fighting in the Carnatic times. Okay, he had this type of understanding with Hyderabad, Muzaffarjung and Chand Sahib in Carnatic. But since both the places, Muzaffarjung and Chand Sahib, both of them died, the thing didn't got into very much developed stage. But Britishers then later on used it for their own advantage. So what they did is, during the time of the English, Richard Wellesley executed subsidiary alliance first with the Hyderabad, Mysore and Maratha Sardars after that. The first to sign subsidiary alliance were the Hyderabad in 1798. We'll come to Mysore in a minute and I'll explain you how and what they did in case here. To be exact, I need to explain you the terms of the subsidiary alliance. So, the native Subedari state can maintain relations with the neighboring, cannot. The native Subedari state cannot maintain relations with the neighbors or any European countries without the permission of the Britishers. Okay, so for example, in this map, if Awadh, here is Awadh, wants to maintain relations with the Marathas, okay, they need permission from the British East India Company. Okay, so Awadh and Marathas, if Awadh wants to maintain relations with Marathas, they need permission from British East India Company. If Awadh is a subsidiary state, and it became subsidiary state in 1801. So this is just an example. So what happened here? First of all, that thing. Then states had to refrain from waging war. Native rulers had to maintain an army commander by British officer. Native rulers had to pay for the upkeep of East India Company military. An English resident was stationed in the native states, and over period they became the actual ruler of the state. Okay, so this was the term of subsidiary alliance. The whole princely state system was actually evolved from the subsidiary alliance system only, and later in 1921 this chamber of princes was evolved to further reassure the subsidiary alliance and re-strengthen the subsidiary alliance. Okay, in a way the subsidiary alliance actually played a very vital role in 1857 in saving the British Empire in India, because most of the ruling elite of these who were part of subsidiary alliance okay, uh, who were although bit stressed because of doctrine of lapse, which is another doctrine which we will be discussing later, not here because it will be too confusing, but they stayed on, and this subsidiary alliance things worked. Okay, so through this thing, through subsidiary alliance, basically the void which was created in 1765 by the removal of Mughal supremacy, because in 1765 Mughal became the pensioner of the British. Okay, but there was no, so for all practical purpose everyone knew that if our king is a pensioner of Mr. X, then Mr. X is the real ruler right now. But there was no understanding between Mr. X and me. So how will I expect him to be my ruler or something? So the subsidiary alliance basically provided that understanding between the rest of the Indian native rulers and the British East India Company. Okay, so that thing you need to know. Now, there was a question in the exam. So it's in 2016 this question was asked. Which one of the following statement does not apply to the system of subsidiary alliance introduced by Lord Wellesley? Okay. Now, as I told you, uh, the first option is to maintain a large standing army at others' expense. This was there. I explained you with giving you the example of Awadh. To keep India safe from Napoleonic danger. This is also true. What we have to does not apply. No? So this applies to secure a fixed income for the company. Okay, secure the fixed income for the company. Okay, this and to establish British paramountcy over Indian states. So this is also there. I just told you that ultimate aim was to legally provide the sanctity for filling up the void of power which was generated after Mughal emperor became a pensioner. So that fourth point is correct. The C option is actually incorrect. Although it's true that they got income, okay, through subsidiary alliance, okay, but that was not the intention. To secure a fixed income, this was not subsidiary alliance was never done with the intention of securing a fixed income. Even subsidiary alliance में कभी fixed income होती भी नहीं थी. Okay, they had very other ways of increasing their money source from Indian native rulers. So they didn't needed something like this. So the option was C. So if you have done this, वो हो जाएगा. Okay, let's move forward. Let me discuss the fourth Anglo-Mysore War at least today's class. So what happened? How this whole Mysore thing ended up? Okay, we'll start with you. I hope everyone understood till here, and then we will move forward. Okay, so fourth Anglo-Mysore was 1798 to 1799. In certain books, it is written only 1799, but it was a whole affair which lasted over 1 year. It was not only in 1799. Now, so what happened this time? Now again, let me explain this thing. So you all have heard the word Tipu Sultan. Okay, but if you start looking into actual records, okay, if you start looking into actual records, you will find the name is everywhere Tipu Sahib, and nowhere it's usually written till 1780s and early 1790s Tipu Sultan. So what had happened is, understand this, that even though Hyder Ali took over the reign of Mysore in 1766, okay, Hyder Ali never declared himself to be the Sultan, okay, or the sovereign basically of Mysore. Okay, he never declared himself to be Sultan or sovereign of Mysore. Why he never did so? Because there was already a fatwa of Muhammad Shah Rangila. Muhammad Shah Rangila in 1724 had given a fatwa which stated that all the Muslim rulers south of Deccan have to follow the command of Nawab of Hyderabad. Nawab of Hyderabad was someone who was opponent of Hyder Ali. Okay, Hyder Ali was a Muslim. Till the time Mysore was officially a Hindu state, because Wodiyas were Hindu, he could have ruled very easily. The moment he would have declared himself to be the Sultan, his state would have become a Muslim state. And then he would have to follow the dictats of this fatwa. Okay. But Hyder Ali passed away in 1782 itself. And then in 1790s, okay, Tipu decided that why we are following these dictats of Mughals. Mughals are no more powerful. No one is going to execute these old fatwas. Hyder Ali, when he was started in 1760s, still Mughals had some name. So he was like, okay, I will rule in this manner, use the title of Sarvadhikari and not the Sultan and all that. Okay, but in 1790s, Tipu said, what's the need? So he waited. He waited till 1798. In 1798, the old Wodiyar king died. And so it was expected that Tipu will appoint the young king, Chamara Raja. Okay, he was a young king, 1.5-year-old kid. So it was expected by the Wodiyar family that Tipu will appoint him officially the Wodiyar king and continue to rule as the Sarvadhikari. But Tipu didn't recognize him, this Wodiyar family kid, as the ruler and declared himself to be the Sultan. And at this time, Tipu got all the papers changed, and intentionally the name Sultan was added in front of all the official documents of the Mysore state, and that's why he was called as Tipu Sultan, not Sultan Tipu, because पहले किसी का change add करना is a bit difficult now. So that's how he got the title of Tipu Sultan. Okay, so you got this much thing. Now let's come to the whole story. So Tipu denied the claim of Wodiyar's successor in 1798. He also denied to sign subsidiary alliance with the British East India Company, because Hyderabad had already signed the subsidiary alliance in 1798. Tipu denied to sign any such agreement with the British East India Company, and he even went on to further increase his trade relations with French government. Okay, so at this time you will see that after the demise of Wodiyar Maharaja, Tipu declared himself to be the sovereign. Okay, at this time Wodiyar royal family approached Richard Wellesley, who was actually looking for an opportunity, because by this time he knew that Tipu's power had reduced somewhat, and he was looking for an opportunity so he can do something. Okay, because without a reason he can't just barge into Mysore na. So he was looking for an opportunity because he knew that by this time Napoleon was already gone back. So that whole threat that Napoleon might come in to help Mysore was also gone. So all the stress he was in for the past 3 years, now he had an opportunity to resolve this whole issue once and for all. And so when the Wodiyars asked for his help, okay, he sent his army and he made sure that no agreement, no understanding, no ceasefire will be signed. They fought till the capital has fallen. The fall of Seringapatam took place in 1799, only after Tipu Sultan died while fighting. Okay, and after that, Wodiyar kid was enthroned as the royal, and Wodiyar family signed the subsidiary alliance. Although story khatam nahi hua hai dost. After this, few more things you need to understand. In 1831, okay, Lord William Bentinck was the Governor General. Don't have to remember here. Later on, I'll tell you. Lord William Bentinck declared that the Mysore state is not being run properly. So, on the name of maladministration, state of Mysore Okay, state of Mysore was taken over by British East India Company. Was taken over by British East India Company. Okay, in 1831. Okay, then in 1881, Lord Ripon was there, and they thought that, look, Mysore royals were one among those royal family who, even though they were removed from power in 1831, but they didn't participate in 1857 revolt. And looking at their good behavior, in 1881, the state was reallotted uh, allotted to Wodeyar family. Okay, and they ruled it till 1947, when it was taken over by Government of India. Okay, so this is what happened in Mysore. Okay, what else you can remember about Mysore is that Mysore was actually also Mysore controlled the island of Lakshadweeps, were part of Mysore's control for a very long period of time. Okay, and if you want, you can note this down. If everyone wants to note this down, they can. And so what we'll do is we'll just move forward now, and we'll try to give you pointers in the manner in which in the examination it will be asked. That is, that if the Anglo-Mysore war is there, what are the causes, what are the consequences? Okay, that form. So there are political and economic causes as well as political and economic consequences of the Anglo-Mysore war. So all these points you have already done. It's not like something new. So political causes of Anglo-Mysore war. Okay. So first of all, again, aspiration of the European companies. Okay, because it was the French and the British were both involved in the second Anglo-Mysore war. Aspiration of Hyder Ali and Tipu Sultan. That is also one of the reasons, because the first Anglo-Mysore war was because of the aspiration of Hyder Ali, and the fourth Anglo-Mysore was because of the reason of aspiration of Tipu Sultan. Disputes between neighboring states. The third Anglo-Mysore war is an example of this. And the foreign interference, the French involvement. Okay, that is also one of the reasons for fourth Anglo-Mysore. So these can be directly mentioned in the political causes. Now you can see that how one point from each of the Anglo-Mysore war has to be converted into theoretical perspective and then written down, and then the particular instances have to be used as an example. So this trick has to be evolved. Okay, this won't be happening in a day, but it will happen over time. Okay, you take a copy of this, you will get the copy of the slides. Okay, and in a few days, it will take few days, and you will be able to do it on your own. Okay, so this much is done. On the economic causes of the Anglo-Mysore war, if you see, so what were the economic causes for Anglo-Mysore war? First of all, the economic policies of Hyder Ali. Hyder was trying to trade with the French, which was unacceptable to the British. Hyder was trying to open his own factories in Europe, which was unacceptable to the British. Okay, Hyder was trying to remove the zamindars, polygars, which was unacceptable to them, which actually was one of the reasons for the third Anglo-Mysore war. Okay, Hyder Ali land settlement, again the polygars. Mysore's economic aspirations, again all the trading things and all that. Foreign interference for trading stations, French involvement. So all these, again, these are economic causes of the Anglo-Mysore struggle. Consequences wise, what was the consequences? British became the masters of southern India. Okay, system of subsidiary alliance was affirmed. Okay, French interference ended forever. Okay, you will not see any more instances of French involvement. French involvement was also seen a bit in the Maratha case, but that is also in 1780s also. After 1799, there was no and never it happened that French involvement was seen in India, and French reduced their presence to for the trading purposes only to the 5 areas which they even had till 1950s. Okay, Pondicherry, Mahe, Chandanagar, okay, Yanam, Karaikal, okay. For those who don't know the areas which are covered in Pondicherry's control as a union territory, please आपके polity subject में है, make sure you read that. Okay. So what are the economic consequences of the Anglo-Mysore struggle? British East India Company got a standing army through subsidiary alliance, okay, while making sure that the other native rulers were paying for the upkeep of the army. British East India Company got a working army of their own on the cost which was bared by the others. Okay, British East India Company got new source of revenue also. Okay, because obviously there was more new land, so more agriculture, and with that also a new setup of agriculture revenue system which was developed by Hyder Ali was very soon taken over by Britishers. I will explain you how. I've given you some idea about the permanent settlement, for example, okay, which was settlement which was implemented in Bengal, but you will see that in Mysore, Raiyatwari system will be implemented. Okay, and those who don't know Raiyatwari system, this is a system in which each and every individual farmer pays his or her own, his own taxes. Okay, his own agriculture revenue. Okay, and the whole permanent settlement thing was not there, and this individual payment was only able to be done because the structure was already there. Okay, and therefore when the Britishers came here, they thought, okay, we will implement this Raiyatwari system because the structure to reach each and every individual farmer was already developed by the Mysorean government of Hyder Ali. Okay, so even by the economic structure which Hyder Ali developed during his time was effectively in later half of the first half of the 20th century was most prominently used by the British government. Okay, Hyderabad became the main native economic power, and it retained so till 1947. Okay, in 1930s, it was stated that the Nawab of Hyderabad was considered to be the richest person in the world because of the Nawab. Okay, so all those things he was able to do because of the making or maintaining good relations with the Britishers. And over here, because Hyderabad was not discussed separately in your NCERTs, therefore I'll tell you here itself that Hyderabad was very shrewd in doing so. Immediately after 1765, immediately after Treaty of Allahabad was signed, it was visible that look, even the mighty Mughals have now fallen on ground in front of the Britishers. They have signed an agreement and become a pensioner of Britishers. So what happens the very next year in 1766, you will see that Hyderabad will sign a treaty. Hyderabad and East India Company treaty was signed. This treaty doesn't have a specific name, but this is a precursor treaty to the subsidiary alliance of 1798. Okay, almost all the terms which were there in the subsidiary alliance of 1798 between Hyderabad and East India Company were already being executed as per this 1766 agreement. And this agreement was signed because Hyderabad understood it very well that the new power on the block is Britishers, and therefore it is good if we make an arrangement with them. So this is something which Hyderabad did throughout very easily. And yeah, so the Hyderabad royal family only hesitated to reach a precursor agreement when the 1947 came. Otherwise, they had always prepared a precursor agreement. It was only 1947 when they took another more than a year actually, and only in September 1948, after a military intervention, they signed an understanding. Okay, otherwise he didn't add. So that you have to keep in mind. What else? Yeah, no. So now after this we have to start with the Maratha Empire. So I hope that Maratha Empire I should try and start in the next lecture only, not in this lecture. Already it's a lot, and starting a new lecture now will be futile. New section of the lecture will be futile. So in next class we will talk about the Maratha Empire, and we will try to summarize Maratha Empire and Punjab story in the next session itself. Okay, so that will be all for now. I hope Mysore you have understood very well. If you expect like these things to go properly, make sure that you always keep a note making like A4 sheet or a notebook along with you, because there will be few times I will be telling you some things extra which won't be there in your NCERTs. Okay, so make sure you do that, so you will be able to make a note simultaneously, adding on to what is there in your NCERTs. Okay, so that will be all for this lecture. Thanks a lot for attending this, and let's catch up in the next lecture. Thank you.